Welcome everyone. The topic for the day is communication for conflict resolution. Let us strive to create a better work climates and have a much more meaningful relationships. So, what is conflict? It's a normal and healthy part of relationship. Please do not have any negative connotations with conflict as such. It can foster bonding among people, among organization, employees, and so on and so forth. It's absolutely normal and healthy part of relationship. When mismanaged, can be detrimental. Yes, when handled with respect and in a positive fashion, it provides opportunities for growth. So remember, this is what we are looking at it. It is normal and healthy. When you cannot mismanage, it becomes detrimental, and it definitely provides opportunities for growth per se. So fundamentally, conflict essentially arises from differences, nothing else. It's a difference of opinion. It is a striving for resources. It is the one common goal, but different approaches that can be coming across. So it's talking about values, motivation, perception, ideas. Now these are the differences that comes very clearly. Sometimes these differences may be seemingly very small to you, but it can actually lead to stronger feeling. Deep personal biasness can creep in. Relational need at the core of the problem. What are the relational needs? It's a need to feel safe and secure, a need to feel respected and valued, a need for a greater closeness and intimacy. What are fundamentals? Recognize the legitimacy of the conflict needs? Definitely, yes. These are the fundamental requirements. Be willing to examine them in an environment of compassion, understanding. These are the fundamental requirement. What it will open us, it will give us the glimpses to a creative problem solving, building teams, having foster cooperation among various groups, improving relationships, and definitely trust building measures. So, successful conflict resolution depends on your abilities of what? Abilities of managing stress, of remaining calm, being alert at all times. Remember, when I say all times, times which might be going in your way, times which may be going against your way. That is the time when you have to be managing your emotions, your behavior. Pay attention to the feeling of being expressed always at times of conflict. You might not agree with your opponent parties altogether, but be respectful of their differences. Let us understand the communication requirement for conflict resolution, and let me give you a tool to it. First and foremost thing is the win-win approach that we aspire for. What is it all about it? It is all about cooperation. What is cooperation is meaning? Meaning says I need to win. Definitely, yes, I need to win. But at the same time, I want you to win too. This is what we look go around it. Discuss the underlying needs. Now, your underlying needs and their underlying, when I say they, is your opponent party. The opponent party or the conflicting parties, underlying needs for them for aspiring to go under conflict or a stressful situation. Talk about them. Given you just cannot need match an orange with an apple, you have to match on the same wavelength. Ask for probing question to find out the needs. Recognize the individual differences. Be open to adapting a position in light of shared information, shared attitude that comes across it. This is what we are looking into it, attacking the problem, not the people. So don't get personalized. You remember, we have a conflicting situation, and it is the situation that needs to be resolved and not to be ingrained enmity between the parties or the individuals involved altogether. So always try to solve the problem and not straighten out the people per se. So this is what creative responses is all about it. Let us go with the creative response. The first creative response is what cooperation, wherein I said all the parties would be winning. In this thing, let us turn the possibilities, find out the possibilities from the problem itself altogether. This is what we go around it. It is all about being the attitudes, color thoughts. It's all about perfection, winners and losers. Discoveries are winners and learners. Empathy, information, getting a clear picture, we talk around it. Affirmation, affirming knowledge and exploring the problems thereby. This is what empathy is all about it. Inflammation, responding to a complaint or an attack on you. We talk about the complaints that comes across the process. So what do we go by empathy? Empathy is all about information, having a right picture altogether. Affirmation is affirming, acknowledging it, and exploring the problem. Inflammations is responding to the complaints or attack on you. So we'll talk about the assertiveness. This is the appropriate assertiveness wherein you have to utilize the strong statement involving the alphabet I, which is also the word in this case. When to use the I statement, how it is on my side, how I see it, and how I would like to see it. It is all being between a balance between aggressive and passive requirements. Remember, your needs can be aggressive and the passive requirement. We are coming into the midpoints, stating out to be the assertiveness. You need to let the other person know what is bothering you. What is it that is creating a sense of discomfort in you? This is where you got to go across it. Others often estimate how hurt or angry you are. You need to put it out time and again by yourself and come across with the positions why this situation and how to get out of this situation, illuminating the possibilities and informing the parties as to the aggrieved situation or the possible alternative is all about it. So it is all about being assertive, neither being aggressive nor being passive. Now we'll talk about the cooperative power. Remember, we are talking nothing but about having the communication styles for conflict resolutions. Cooperative power is responding to the resistance from the other person, often asking questions to reframe resistance. This is what we are looking into it, wherein we are having an open questions. Now this will give out a lot of venting out from the opponent party, and it will help you to identify what is the core issue with the conflict. Find option. Thereby, this is the opportunity that we all are looking for it in the communication itself. This will tell us what are the alternative options that can be explored upon, redirect, move to the positive sides, and ascertain the usages, thereby go back to the legitimate needs and concerns. That is what we look forward to, the legitimate requirements of needs and concerns. By managing emotions, I will give you 5 goals and 5 questions respectively. Simple 5 goals and 5 questions respectively altogether to you. Why? The 5 questions are: why am I feeling so frightened, so hurt, so angry, so anguished? What do I want to change? What is it that isn't bothering it? What do I need to order to let go of this feeling? Whose problem is this anyway? What is the unspoken message I infer from the situation? The 5 goals are aimed to avoid, to punish, to blame. The 5 goals are aimed to improve the situation, how to go across and improvise upon the situation. See, let us understand for one thing that conflict doesn't help or assist anyone. It only makes the situation worse. So aim is to communicate your feeling appropriately. Aim is to improve the relationship and increase communication manifold. Aim is to avoid repeating the same situation time and again. Managing emotion, handling others. People behaviors occurs for a purpose. They are looking for ways to belong, feeling significant, feeling protected, self-protected, and that is what we are looking into it. People behaviors we have to now manage emotion. Now this time we are not managing our self emotion. This time we are trying to handle people altogether. People behaviors occurs for a purpose. Now this is where we need to understand what are their pain points. They are looking for certain ways to belong, feel significant, and self protect. Avoid attention seeking behaviors, disengage from struggle for power, convince them that you respect their needs. Encourage any positive attempt, no matter how small or how big they are. Negotiation, be hard on the problem, soft on the person. This is what we look into it. Always be hard on the problem and definitely soft on the person. Never get person specific. Never hurt the ego of the fellow or the gentleman or the lady in question. Focus on their needs, not on their position. That is what we look to go around it. And if possible, explore certain common grounds. Emphasize upon them. Be inventive, be creative about option. Look, guess, search for alternative option. In fact, I would also recommend that conflicting parties can conjoin together to come up with alternative solution wherein if not 100% means that all the parties should at least win 60 or 70% of their demands or requirements to be fulfilled. Make clear agreements. This is where we need to understand. This is the negotiation skill that goes around it. And wherever possible, prepare in advance. Wherever possible, prepare in advance to give certain grounds and probably take certain leverage thereby. We'll talk about the mediations. Mediation are the attitude that are relevant when you are advising a conflict that is not your own. Be objective and supportive. Be objective and supportive. Be non-judging altogether. Steer the process, not the content part of it. So this is where we come across. It can be a win-win solution that has happened around it. So the attitude has to be very clear. It has to be very objective. Need not be judging at all. We'll be clearing about the process altogether. It should not be the content part. It should be a win-win attitude. Remember, this may be informal chat, but with both conflicting people or formally organized mediation session that come across with it. So that is what we are looking at here. Broadening perspective, respect and value differences. This is which is of very important thing. First and foremost thing is the differences that has been coming across. Now differences can be a lot of reasons. I have already said about them in my previous slide. It can be your aims, objective, cultures, values, and so on and so forth. So respect them, recognize that it is for a longer time frame. All your mediation, all your conflicting, ensure that we are going to have peace and not fighting over small issues time and again. Assume a global perspective that comes around it. Look for similar situation and how it has been resolved elsewhere. So deal with resistance to the broader perspective. Definitely, yes. We would like to be open to the idea of changing and taking risk, taking calculated risk and looking for a favorable risk reward situation altogether. Let us have the communication for conflict resolutions responses thereby. First and foremost thing, we can have healthy responses and unhealthy responses. Let us start with the negative connotations first and foremost. It is or for unhealthy responses, inability to recognize, respond to a matters of great importance to the other fellow. Explosive, angry, hurtful, and resentful reaction is what is important. Withdrawal resulting in rejection, isolation, shaming, and fear of abandonment. This is what we need to go across with it. Expectation of bad outcomes, what we look up across it. We need to think, be prepared that nothing is going to come our way. In fact, in a conflicting situation, as an aggrieved party, we might all lose the argument per se or the conflict per se. So expectation of the bad responses, how do we go around it? Is it about fear or avoidance of conflict? Is it about being angry, hurtful, resentment reaction? Is it all about being withdrawal, resulting in rejection, isolation, and so on? forth. So these needs to be understood. Now let us understand the healthy response, the capacity to recognize and respond to the important matters. This is what we look forward to. The readiness to forgive and forgive is what we look forward, the ability to seek compromise and avoid punishing. I am trying to come forward as the case might be. I believe that resolution can support the interest and the needs of both the parties. This is where the win-win situation comes around it. This is a situation when we are very comfortable with the fact that yes, the resolution can have a creative solution wherein certain amount of values, egos and rights and motivational things, cultures would be protected per se. All the interests are to be taken care of thereby by the parties. So four key conflict resolution skills would be quick relief stress, recognize and manage the emotion that comes across as first and foremost thing, recognize your emotions. And it might be a hurtful emotions. Please manage it the way. You cannot be vociferous, you cannot be violent. You need to understand that there are times when you need to give in, and there are times when you will actually win in a most adverse situation. Improve on your non-verbal communication. Your body language needs to be improvised. You use humor, play to deal with challenges. This is one of the best thing. A person who can actually put up a smiling face in the adverse situation, the most of the adverse situation, is a person who will ultimately come out winners. So this is the quick tips for the conflict resolution. We'll take about having relationships and making the most meaningful out of it, giving it a priority, focusing on the present, never hampering onto the past and never protecting on your future things. Things will come, things will follow. Once everything is resolved in the present, I am sure the most things will improve with the passage of time. But what happens in actuality is, because we are in the present situation, we hamper on the past detrimental things or negative connotations, and we bring on those grudges time and again, and as a result we eventually not only spoil our present but also distort the future connotations altogether. So pick your battles very consciously, very bad. Not every battle needs to be won. Remember, we need to win the war, not the battles per se. Be willing to forgive, definitely yes. Know when to let go. This is very true. At times it becomes very dogmatic. It is time better to let go. You know, you might end up giving some small gains and winning a big lead over a period of time. So give those things, help it out. We will talk about for tips for fear fighting, ground rules. What are they? First, foremost is to be patient. Have patience in yourself. Have faith in yourself. Trust yourself. You know, patience is a virtue, and if you are patient, you will eventually see the other side of the day. Express feeling in words and never ever in action. Always be specific of what exactly is bothering you. Deal with the only one issue at a time. Deal with only one. Did I say one? Not multiple. One issue at a time. No hitting below the belt. This is what we look across it. Avoid accusations as far as possible is concerned. Do not generalize. Never ever generalize is what we go across with it. This what has happened today might not be repeated next day. It might be a different day altogether, and things might come the other way around. So please do not have a generalized thing. Avoid those make believe connotations time and again that people adhere to altogether. Don't stockpile up your pent up feelings, negative emotion, connotations, and things like that. Never bring break backs from the past to the present context. So avoid clamming up. Keep on saying the same thing again and again. So learn to listen. One of the basic attributes of your conflict resolutions and your communication style would be your listening skills. Let me give you a few tips for a better listener. First and foremost thing, look for the reasons what the other people has been upset for. Look. Remember, I use the word called look, and despite the word that listen has been listening to the has been written on your slide. So look for the reasons, what the people person is saying and what you are hearing around it. Make sure you understand what the other person is telling it to you from your point of view, from his point of view, and repeat, rephrase, paraphrase the words in your own word. Ask whether you have understood it very clearly, crystally. Ask if anything remains unspoken. This is very true. Give the person time to think before answering, before you summing it up. This is what you did. I repeat, look for the reasons of what the person is saying. Resist the temptation to interject. Interject with your own points of view. Interject with your attributes. If the person has said everything she wants to say, feels that you have listened to and understood his message. Active listening encourage the other person to share his or her issues as fully as possible. Clarify the real issues rather than making assumption. Restate what you have heard. This is very important. Reflect feelings. Validate the concerns of the other person. This is true. Validate the concerns of the other person. This is all about active listening. And remember, this is the last slide for this particular wonderful presentation so on communication for conflict resolution. Please have an active listening methodology for yourself. With this, I wind up this particular presentation. Thank you for watching this video.